Hello everyone, this is May the 30th, 2021. My name is John Smith. It's time for the Psalming Effect. And what's on my mind this week? What's on my mind today? Well, it's rain. I live in southeast Saskatchewan, which is a huge farming area. That very much defines the culture and the economy in the place where I live. It affects the livelihood of people who live here. It affects my livelihood, even though I don't farm and never have. I'm a city boy, but rainfall is very much the thing that shapes what goes on here. Either the frequency of rain or the lack of it. And right now, we're experiencing a very wet spring. And so it's a blessing because we've had a couple of dry years when the lack of rain or the rain coming not at the right times has affected crop yields. And so this year there's a lot of excitement because we had some good snow cover during the winter, and now we're having a very wet spring, and so that's replenishing a lot of groundwater that was lost over a couple of years. But it's a concern that we have such a wet spring because by now a lot of our crop farmers would like to be completing seeding in their fields, but for many, they haven't been able to get out there, or they're just now getting started because there's been so much standing water in the fields. So they just need things to dry up or soak in a little bit, or quite a bit. But no one's complaining very loudly because we need the rain in order to have the crops. And so I'm thinking today from a psalm in Psalm 65, and I want to share a portion of it with you as our meditation for today. And I would encourage you to be reading this psalm. It's Psalm 65. Read from this psalm every day this week and be blessed by the message that's there. Today I'm going to read verses 9 through 13. And you'll see why I'm drawn to this psalm as I'm thinking about how much rain is happening. Psalm 65, verses 9 through 13. You visit the earth and water it. You greatly enrich it. The river of God is full of water. You provide their grain, for so you have prepared it. You water its furrows abundantly, settling its ridges, softening it with showers, and blessing its growth. You crown the year with your bounty. Your wagon tracks overflow with abundance. The pastures of the wilderness overflow. The hills gird themselves with joy. The meadows clothe themselves with flocks. The valleys deck themselves with grain. They shout and sing together for joy. For me, rain is a reminder of God's presence and providence. Some atheists or agnostics complain that if there really is a God and if he really cares about us, he would make himself more evident to us, more visible to us day by day. If he really wants us to believe in him, he would make himself more believable. Many have suggested that as God worshippers, our attachment to this invisible creator is merely an exercise of our imaginations. I suggest that our invisible God actually does make his presence and providence constantly evident daily. And the rain or the lack of rain and all the weather systems associated with it, to me, are a constant reminder that God is here. You know, I learned about weather in science classes as a child, as I'm sure many of you did as well. I understand how it works. You know, water evaporates from the earth because of the heat of the sun. It is drawn up and exists in the atmosphere as a vapor and moves around, you know, clouds, and you know, when the conditions are just right, you know, with highs or low pressures and the phases of the moon and things like that, and just the air currents that move around, the conditions become right for those water vapors to condense and to drop water. For the water vapor to turn into moisture, precipitation we call it, and so we get rain, or if it's cold outside it'll be snow or sleet or you know, it'll feel something different. But rain is what we experience in the spring, and so there's, you know, there's rain, and then there's evaporation, you know, the cycle. I understand how the cycle works, you know, and but that doesn't cause me to not believe in God. You know, God as the creator. Once we come to know God as the creator, the one who's made this planet, who's made the water and the bodies of water, the atmosphere, has created the solar system with our sun and the way our planet revolves and rotates around the sun, and how all of that works. God put all of that in place, which has a powerful daily impact on how we live. And so for those of us who believe in God, God is showing up daily in the sun, in the wind, and in the rain. Sometimes beautifully, often fearfully, but always awesomely, and daily and consistently. God is exerting himself in our lives through the weather. He is there, sometimes shouting, sometimes whispering, with the sun, with the wind, and the rain. He tells us clearly, I am here, I am God, I am your God, I am for you, I am. That's the message I get when I read this psalm and when I reflect on what it's saying, and just day by day, when I go outside and I feel the moisture in the air, or when I feel the heat of the sun, or when I feel the breath, the wind that's blowing. Yes, I can describe it all scientifically, and that's good. The more science that I understand, and the more I can explore the detail of what's going on in nature around me, actually the more I understand of God's majesty and strength and power and beauty, and the more I appreciate the presence and the providence of God on a daily basis. God's grace is for you in 2022.